All right, so we're learning how to connect with others on a deeper level, and we're learning how to make emotional deposits in other people's bank accounts. We learned the power of intention and how to trigger dopamine in dazzling conversations. So now it's time for a confession. Silence sometimes scares me. When I'm not prepared for it, it can make me super uncomfortable. I mean, sometimes it's just because I'm tired or I haven't eaten yet or I might be preoccupied with something else and I'm not on my game and I'm not emotionally prepared for those silences. But it is here then when I fall back on my training to navigate through it. And these techniques and strategies never fail me, and they won't fail you. So what I've learned is the art of conversation is not about conversation. Dazzling conversations. It's about the art of listening well and validation. So when you are fully present with people, when you are listening with your entire being, your entire self, people feel validated. Now, I heard this quote by Oprah Winfrey where she said, "I've talked to about nearly 30,000 people on this show. All 30,000 had one thing in common. They all wanted validation." So the moment we allow this silence and don't interrupt people, and you're there fully with them, when you stay present and not look at your phone or not look at your watch or over the heads or the shoulders of the people that you're in front of looking for someone else to talk to, when you don't do those things, you make them feel validated, that you're really there for them and you're trying to hear them. And this speaks to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Being a true listener helps you to meet the top 3 needs on our hierarchy. When you really listen to people, you give people a sense of belonging. You give them a sense of intimacy. When you listen to people, you meet their esteem, that you want to listen to their success. And most importantly, you let them live their potential by sharing their story, by sharing their answers. So it's one of the most powerful gifts you can give people by listening to them. So the question is, beyond being silent, how do you put this into practice in normal conversations? Well, one of the most powerful techniques is called the RUC technique, and we're going to use it throughout this course. The RUC technique is how you can validate someone. This can be when you meet someone new, it can be a client meeting on a date with a coworker, or when you're with your friends to show them that you are truly listening. Use the people on your list that we created last week and in the events that are coming up for you. So how does all of this work? First, you rephrase the things that they just said to you. Then, just as we learned in developing rapport, you use their words back to them as a show of respect and commonality. It shows that you were listening to them. And then you circle back and follow up with a question to find out where they're at. What's the next step? How can you help them? Or you add a statement of your own to further the conversation. The follow-up question or the statement is really determined by the conversation. Now, I want us to practice how this works in action. So ask a family member or a close friend this question. What kind of projects are you working on that you're passionate about? Listen for the words they use, and then I want you to rephrase what they told you using their words, and check in with them at the end with an added question or a statement. For example, the questions could be, well, what prompted your interest in this? Or, so what are the next steps for you? How challenging has it been? You know, you sound really excited about this. I have a friend who does this as well. I'd love to connect the two of you. So these are all great check-ins, right? When you use the RUC technique, people will feel a good connection, and they'll also feel understood. Now, the reason why this technique is so important is because it gives us that warm and fuzzy feeling. Have you ever noticed that when someone shares something stressful or happy, we don't always know how to respond, so we're like, oh yeah, cool, awesome. Or if it's stressful, we'll say that we're there for them, but we don't really exactly know what to say. Using this, wow, you must have been disappointed when you didn't get that promotion you were hoping for. What are the next steps for you? All right, now there's a different answer than, wow, that must have been really hard. Listening intently gives us something to do, and it keeps us present, and people don't forget that. The secret part of the RUC technique is not only does it make them feel good, but it also makes it so that you have a reason to listen. Listening for their words, listening for what they're feeling. It gives us a reason to listen on a higher level. Not just the casual listening that we normally do, but you're actually listening to use their words back to them. So it gives you a reason to deep listen. Now, when you're with a client and you're nervous, focusing on how I can make sure they feel heard, really listening to their words and feelings, well, that's a great motivation to listen. Now, I love this quote by Brian Tracy, who says, "Make a habit of dominating the listening and let the customer dominate the talking." Well, that's the goal. It's to figure out how you can validate them.